post the PDF version of it. Okay, so standard disclaimer as always, this is for educational purposes, and it is in general advice for, that is true for most people, but it is in no way claiming to give you specific advice for your own specific physical medical situation, because I don't know it. I'm not your doctor. You should talk to your real doctor and get their say in it. These are the benefits of eating healthier, and I've pretty much been hitting on these points all semester, especially over at the diseases, chronic diseases lecture. So it's a recap of that, and that's pretty much what I'm going to do all for this entire slideshow. I'm not going to read it to you because you're not a third grader. You can read for yourself. So you can just hit the pause button now and double check that you are aware of how eating healthier actually helps each one of these. If you're not sure, then this is a good time to go back to previous notes, previous slides, and refresh your information about these things. These are the things that will go bad if you don't eat healthy. And so it's not just malnutrition, it's not just undernutrition, but overnutrition with some of your macronutrients, like eating too much salt, sugar, and fat. And then these things will happen. Again, recheck the chronic diseases lecture. Let's not blame the victim here. And yes, it's true that what you put in you is very much a conscious decision of your own free will, but there are many factors in society that are trying to push you in one direction or another. Everybody's hustling, everybody's trying to take your money to make one decision or another that benefits them and not you. And so you can think you're making your own decision out of your own free will, but you can only make the best decision you can with the information you're given. So if the powers that are out there constrict your information, constrict your options, and then you're just trying to make the best choice out of a list of bad choices. And so society, advertising, your financial situation, all of them are in play. That said, it doesn't take away your responsibility to take care of yourself, to make the right decision, the best decision you can at any one time. And then if you realize that you are surrounded by bad decisions, then play the long game and get yourself out of that situation so that you have better decisions, better choices available to you in the future. Part of it is working towards like a higher income level so you can afford to move out somewhere where your options are better. But part of it is also looking inward at yourself and how you think, and becoming aware of the behaviors and habits that your past, the society that you grew up in has put on you, has trained you, has wired your switches in a certain way. So you recognize that some of these switches that were set up in you are the wrong ones, or the triggers that are going towards the wrong kinds of behavior. And so by becoming aware of it, you have taken the first step towards rewiring that switch. You can't stop the environment, the random chaos of life from triggering those switches, pressing those buttons, but you can make those switches and buttons wired to something else. If you are on a work break, don't think, well, then I must eat a Twinkie because I always eat a Twinkie when I'm on a work break. No. Eventually, in the future, rewire that switch so that when you think, I am now on a work break, and you have successfully changed your habits so that you do something else out of habit because you recognize you are now on a work break. Don't set unrealistic goals for yourself. You will fail. You need to start slow, grow slow, things I keep saying again and again. Watch out for fad diets because even if they do have any gains, they are short term, and then they will cause rebound weight gain. And rebound weight gain sometimes leaves the person even heavier than they were before they started the fad diet. And this yo-yoing, going up and down, year after year, is actually not healthy either. It's also a risk factor for heart disease and diabetes. It just adds to the stress, and it's not just physical stress now, but psychological stress too. Speaking of psychological stress, where this entire course has been about the fatty plaques on the inside, the heart disease on the inside. I have spent very little time and I put very little priority on how people look on the outside. Because how you look on the outside is actually due to a lot of other factors on this, a lot of other factors other than how much you weigh or what percent body fat you have. We all worry about how we appear on the outside, but as a total package, which includes personality, levels of success, financial status, social status. So these are all things that are indirect or even unrelated to how much fat we're showing just below our skin. But if somebody is preoccupied with that one thing, thinking that if I just fix that one thing, then everybody will love me, I will be beautiful, I will be successful, that's unhealthy, and it's actually may even backfire. So we don't want to be preoccupied with our physical exterior appearance, especially when it comes to fat. The only fat we really should be worried about is the fat on the inside, and I mean inside our arteries. Fix that, and then the fat everywhere else on the body will fix itself. Becoming a healthier you is not diet alone, it's also exercise. It's changing of habits. There's no silver bullet, there's no magic carpet. I was going to say magic bullet, so I'm kind of mixing metaphors here. There's no quick fix, there's no shortcuts, there's no hack. It is a long, difficult struggle. It is a lifelong battle. It took a lifetime to grow into these bad habits. It's going to take a lifetime to grow out of it. What you eat is important, but also how you eat is important too. Talked about, eat this, not that. And there will be a few slides here elaborating on those points. If you have cheat days, and it's not a bad idea, cheat days is not a bad idea because you're not perfect. You are human, you are fallible. And if you try to be perfect, then you will fail. And then when you fail, you get frustrated. And when you get frustrated, you feel like you should just quit. So I don't want you to do that. So I don't want you to fail in your goal. So I don't want you to think of those days where you accidentally give in to temptation as some kind of sign of constant and permanent failure. Instead, just call it a cheat day. Call it a setback. A setback is not a failure. A setback is just, you took a step back in your plan. It doesn't mean abandon the plan. Later, just get back on it. Get back on the path. Of course, you should be allowed to have cheat days. You have family and friends coming together for the holidays, enjoying each other's company, reinforce each other's social bonds. Don't let an obsession with food get in the way. So if a cherished relative, a dear friend, spent several days making a delicious dish, and don't be a jerk. Go ahead, eat it. Enjoy the food, enjoy the company. Take this entire holiday season as just cheat days. But after the holidays are over, you now have some catching up to do, and it's time to get back on the path. Here are some points here that I've talked about before, and I've separated it to beginner level and next level. So if you are a beginner, which means you have never done this before, maybe you've thought about these things, but you haven't really taken a serious step towards a healthier you, a health journey for yourself, then it's okay. It's okay to start over from square one, from step one on the journey board. And so here are some things to reattempt or attempt anew. When you are on your health journey, of course you will feel hunger. Unless you're on one of those diet drugs like Wegovy or Manjaro, then you don't feel cravings. But if you're doing it the old-fashioned way, and I think if that's the better way, then of course you will be hungry all the time. Your body is very much aware, well, your mind, the base levels of your mind are very much aware that you can just walk down the street to the gas station and buy a Twinkie or buy junk food. It's very much aware that there's cookies and candy in your kitchen cabinet right now. And so there's crackers in the fridge or pasta in the fridge. So it's craving those things because as far as your animal brain, your base brain, ancient ancestors' brain is concerned, it never knows if there will be famine or starvation in the short future. So just in case there is famine and starvation coming soon, then you should of course bulk up. You should pad up like a bear getting ready for hibernation. But your forebrain, your civilized brain, is aware that no, that's not what our society is about anymore, or at least for now. We can get plenty to eat of all kinds of nutrients at the flick of a wrist. We have enough money to afford too much food, so we don't need to pile on the pounds in case there's a famine. Famine is not coming, and there will always be food unless something terrible happens, like some kind of disaster, worldwide extinction level event disaster. Okay, well, who could have foreseen that? But as far as we can tell, in our near future, the damage we do to ourselves by stocking up, by piling up for a possible famine, what the damage we're doing to our bodies, to our health, to our heart and vessels and brain, far outweighs any kind of potential preparation for a future famine. So instead, we taking this class, you took this class because you want to know how to avoid the real dangers of living in modern society, which is cardiovascular disease, which uncontrolled diabetes, risks of strokes and heart attacks. So in order to do that, we need to resist the temptation, resist the drive by our animal brains, by our lower level brains to stock up on sugar, salts, and fats, and take some very important, although difficult, steps to be healthier. So your mind is trying to trick you. Your animal brain is trying to trick you into eating more, even though the rest of your body is already very well content with what you've eaten so far. And so you think you feel hunger, but that's not hunger you're feeling. And I feel hunger all the time because I am on a serious diet. I'm trying to reach my goals for the semester, my goals for life, and I'm always trying to eat less than what I want. So I'm always hungry. But is it hunger? Because when my mind is trying to tell me you feel hungry, my forebrain, my thinking brain, has finally learned to say, no, I'm not. I just ate a balanced meal only an hour ago. A well-balanced meal. I know it's well balanced because I know what I'm doing, and I know that I can't be hungry. This is not possible. So it's not hunger I'm feeling, it's cravings. I don't need more carbohydrates. I don't need more salt, but I'm craving more carbohydrates. I'm craving more salt. And for cravings, I know that's temptation. And for cravings, I can tell myself, no, I don't, this is bad for me. If I give in, then I'm only going to hurt myself in the long run. So it helps me resist. What I'm doing is breaking away from the Pavlov's dog meme. I am recognizing that I am not a puppet where my strings can be pulled by corporations and their billion-dollar advertising campaigns. No, I am not falling for that. I am in control of my own fate. I am in control of my own decisions. I'm responsible for my own health. So I will make the right decisions. For those of you who are watching this video, here's a clue. SMART will be on the final exam. At least one question. How do you know you're not exercising too much? Well, there was this entire lecture on exercise, so you should review that. But in that lecture, there was the concept of maximum heart rate. Well, target heart rate. You know how to check your pulse, right? Put your finger in your throat, feel around, and you can feel your heartbeat there. So when you are exercising, once in a while, check your pulse. Don't let your pulse go above 80% of maximum. What is maximum? 220 minus age. I think in my lecture slides I specified there's like a male. This is 220 minus age is for males, and a slightly different number for females. But if you forget, then just remember the 220 minus age. So for example, let's say you're 20 years old. I don't know how old you are, but let's say a 20-year-old person, 20-year-old male, which means 220 minus 20 is 200. That's their maximum. And do not let your pulse go over, he should not let his pulse go over 200, or else that's like really, really bad. This is a theoretical maximum. You should never let your pulse reach your maximum heart rate. Instead, what you do is, what's 80% of 220? I mean, you should be able to do this in your head, but here, I'll show you. So, what's 80% of 200? So, times 0.8. So, 160. So, a 20-year-old male should not let their pulse reach over 160 beats per minute while they are exercising. To be fair, 160 is pretty high. It's pretty high. Over at when I worked on the ambulance, any pulse over 150 with signs and symptoms. So it's not just the pulse by itself, but the patient had like other complaints and their pulse was over 150. We would start to do stuff like give certain medications to slow the heart down. So 160 is kind of high no matter who you are, but it was just an example. When not only should you exercise, but you should also spend some time outside. Sunlight improves your vitamin D levels. It's the best way for you to get vitamin D levels. Yes, there are vitamin D supplements and some foods have vitamin D in it, but you get very little vitamin D that way. The best way to get vitamin D is be out in the sun. And vitamin D you need in order for you to use your calcium that you intake. And calcium is what you need for good, strong bones as well as overall general health. When you're out in the sun, though, be careful, don't get sunburn. And sunburn, remember, is not only possible on a hot summer day, sunny day, but can also happen even on a cloudy day. It's the ultraviolet rays that cause sunburn, not the visible rays. So wear skin protection when you can, and that skin protection means clothing or sunscreen. Good sleep, very important for overall health. So even though this is a nutrition class, I want to stress that you need to get good sleep. for these reasons. Because if you get poor sleep, then you suffer in these ways. Oh, oops, let's go back here. It's been proven that driving while sleep deprived is equivalent to driving while drunk. The rates of accidents while sleep deprived, falling asleep at the wheel, is the same as the rates of accidents while driving drunk. So if you're not going to do it, if you don't care about what happens to you, you should at least care what happens to the passengers of the other cars. Do not drive sleep deprived. If you're falling asleep at the wheel, pull over, find some place to take a quick nap and drink some coffee or caffeine somehow. Okay. I've said this over and over again. I don't know if you still don't get it, or if you still don't believe me. I don't know what to do. I've spent almost every lecture, almost every slide of every lecture saying these things. It's on the final exam. Read nutrition labels. I've been saying this almost every lecture. Read them, and you want to look for these. Pay attention to the numbers in the nutrition labels. You should get enough one of the things the nutrition labels will list is the fiber grams per day. And Americans are supposed to get around 30. Of course, Americans are different sizes, different ages, but the differences in grams of fiber requirement is very small differences. So it's like around 30, and it doesn't have to be an exact number. You are a real life person, you're not a chemistry experiment, so it's not exactly 30, but something like that. Somewhere between 25 and 35, and you're fine. The problem is that most Americans only get half of this, like between 10 and 15 per day. And so no wonder they get constipation. And many Americans, even young Americans, are getting colon cancer, even young Americans. Of course, you need carbohydrates for short-term energy, but you really should go for quality carbohydrates. Review the nutrition lecture. Avoid processed sugar. If there's one change you can focus on early in your nutrition, in your health journey, is target the processed sugar. You know those financial advisors who say you should invest in this or you should invest in that? Every financial advisor you'll ever talk to, the honest ones, the honest ones, their number one top advice will always be pay off your credit cards, because the interest rates on the credit cards is almost criminal. They are robbing you blind on the interest rates on those credit card balances. So if you've got some wild idea to make money fast, it's nowhere near as guaranteed of a win as if you took that money and paid off your credit cards first. Same idea with processed sugar. Whatever fad diet you want to get on, no matter what unusual, strange thing your friend or family is advising you, if you're doing that and still loading up on processed sugar, you are undoing that fancy new diet. If you have to change one thing in your life, you need to cut out processed sugar as soon as possible. Not overnight, like I've always said, never change too much too soon. Start slow, grow slow. So starting today or tomorrow, let's say starting tomorrow, I tend to first look for any sources of processed sugar in your diet and start to reduce them little by little, day after day, until hopefully, like after a couple of years, you finally cut out most of your processed sugar in your life. Like you'll only allow it for special occasions, special treats, rarely throughout the year. Like Christmas. It's okay to eat a candy cane at Christmas because it's Christmas. But you have no business eating a candy cane in August. that kind of thing. Okay, so that was beginner level. What about the next level? Let's say you think, oh, I'm not a beginner in nutrition. I know everything. I need some like more higher level advice. All right, cut out orange juice and apple juice. You've already eliminated, by this time, you have eliminated processed sugars out of your life. What is the next source of unhealthy levels of sugar? Your drinks. Orange juice, apple juice, and absolutely sodas. But by this level, you've already reduced your sugary soda drinks to like, I don't know, once a week or once a month. So you're now, and those once a week or once a month drinks are because of like special occasions or super convenience, or you were stuck one day without a drink and the vending machine only had non-diet drinks, and you couldn't find a water fountain, so your only choice left was to buy a regular soda. All right, so you're allowed to buy one. But otherwise, you've almost eliminated sugary sodas out of your life. What's the next thing to target? Other high sugar drinks. And so you may think, orange juice, isn't this like all natural? You've even bought organic orange juice. So isn't it supposed to be like 100% healthy? Go Google for how orange juice is made. Not the orange juice for rich billionaires, where they have butlers squeezing their own orange juice from like fresh picked oranges. No, like the orange juice you buy in the grocery store. Go look up how they are made, how they are stored, how they are processed, how they are brought to the consumer market. They are loaded down with sugars. Same with apple juice. Same with all fruit juices. Oranges, of course, are healthy, but that's if you eat the whole orange, except the peel. Buy real oranges from the produce section, peel it, eat the wedges. That is a much healthier way of eating oranges. Not after they're processed into a bottle. So that's next level. When you are finished with beginner level stuff and you're ready for the next level, target the fruit drinks. Unless you're a competitive level athlete, you really don't need sports drinks. If you are just a weekend warrior showing up for a picnic or a brisk walk with your hiking friends, you don't need sports drinks. Just bring a bottle of water, a couple of bottles of water. Now, if it's a really, really hot day and you are at real risk of dehydration and you're playing like you're part of like your neighborhood soccer team and it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit outside, okay, maybe then you might benefit from sports drinks instead of just plain water. At this level, you should have reduced your regular soda intake to almost nothing. If you feel a massive craving for that carbonated soda feel, you can switch to seltzer, and that's what I've done now. When I was 30 years ago, I was drinking regular soda all the time, like several a day. I was drinking like 3 or 4 regular Coke. I was drinking 3 or 4 regular Cokes a day. 20 years ago, I switched to Diet Coke, and then I became severely addicted to Diet Coke. And then 10 years ago, I started switching to seltzer, to the point where I never drink regular soda now. I haven't drunk a single regular soda in like 2 years. And I do drink a can of Diet Coke maybe once a month, again for special occasions or for special circumstance. And when I do drink a Diet Coke again, that rare Diet Coke. It tastes so bad now. My tastes have adapted, and now all of that chemicalness of the Diet Coke is now obvious. I can actually sense it again. So I will still buy a Diet Coke maybe once a month because of necessity, depending on the situation. But when I am drinking it, I'm not liking it. I am not enjoying it. I'm doing it because I needed the caffeination. I needed the caffeine. I needed the seltzer. It was something about it that I needed, but I was not enjoying it anymore. My next goal is to reduce my seltzer intake. Maybe that'll be one of my objectives for like the next few years. They are a bit of a pain to carry home from the grocery store. A case of anything is pretty heavy. Another next level, if you feel ready for it, is to start a food diary. Some call it a food diary, some call it a food journal. And what you do is you keep track of the foods you eat, and then you can sum up or total up the proteins, carbohydrates, salts, fats, anything else you want to keep track of for the whole day. And then that's one benefit of a food journal. But another benefit is that when it's all laid out in front of you, you can finally with your eyes see where you can start slicing or reducing. When you don't mentally keep track of what you eat throughout the day, by the end of the day, it gets a little hard to remember what you ate. You start to lie to yourself about what you ate. So you don't really have accurate information about what you just did. And so by writing it down or typing it in, then it makes it easier for you to identify where you can start reducing your carbohydrates. What's the next thing you can start reducing or substituting to reduce your sugar intake? What's the next thing you can do to reduce your sodium intake, etc.? Lie to yourself. You may think, I never lie to myself. Oh yeah? Watch what happens when you brag to somebody else that you're keeping a food diary, and then they want to see it. And I don't mean like an acquaintance or a distant somebody whose opinion you don't care about, but somebody who will like see you every day, such as your mother or your best friend. And then you know that in the future they're going to come up to you and ask, how's it going? How's your food journal going? Can I see it again? What's going to happen is when you know somebody else is going to see it, you're going to start lying. You're going to start fudging the numbers because you don't want to be judged. You start to feel self-conscious. You're going to start accidentally leaving things out or forgetting to mention things, and your food journal will just be a page after page of lies, of inaccurate propaganda. No, that's not the point of the food journal. The point of the food journal is to be brutally honest to yourself. The only way you can guarantee true, transparent honesty for yourself is to never show it to anybody. Don't even mention that you're doing it. Why did I mention that I'm doing it to my students? Well, I'm teaching this, so it's okay. You can see I posted my food, an example of my food journal all the way back in the nutrition lecture, so you can go back there and look at it yourself. And that was just for one day. Oh, that's something else. You don't have to fill it out every day, because once you get into a routine, then it starts getting really repetitive, and then it'll get boring. And boring things don't last long. Boring things are not sustainable. So don't force yourself to fill one out every day, but maybe once in a while, maybe once a month, fill one out just to see how your life has changed. or are you on track with your goals, your objectives? So not every day. Now, where are you supposed to fill this out? You could download one of the commercial apps, and even if they say it's free, it's not really free, because because somebody or one person or a development team and their business partners spent a lot of effort to make it. They made it pretty, made it interactive. They spent a lot of their skilled time to do it. How do they get paid for that? Who's paying for that? If you're not paying for that, who's paying for that? Well, then advertisers are. Well, why would advertisers give them money? Because they are taking your data and selling it to them. Whenever you use an online app, and especially if it's a free online app, you're not the customer. The customer is the person providing the money. And if you're not providing the money, you're not the customer. Then what are you? I mean, you're a user, but what are you really? You are the product. You are the thing being bought and sold between the app owners and the advertisers. The advertiser is the customer. The app owner is the seller. You are the product. Remember that whenever you use any kind of online app or any kind of online server for anything, whether it's nutrition or work or games or social interaction, especially if you're not paying for it, then you're not the customer. You are the product. You are the thing being bought and sold. So if that doesn't sound appetizing to you, what else are you supposed to do? Paper and pencil? Sure, why not? Carry around a composition book, carry around a notebook and pencil, and track your nutrition that way. That could get a little tedious though, right? You have to keep pulling out a calculator, etc. So that could get, and that's a lot of math, so that could get a little tedious, and then it gets frustrating, and then when it's frustrating, you don't do it anymore. So here's another thing you can do, which is make your own app with a spreadsheet. Here I am saying I will mention it during lecture, a freeware spreadsheet app. Okay, here we go. This is a freeware application that simulates or duplicates the functionality of Microsoft Office. And it's free. Wait, didn't you just say if something is free, then you're not the customer, you're the product? Yes, I know. But, wow, you sure do get a lot for free. This pretty much reproduces everything I've ever needed from Microsoft Office. So here is their freeware spreadsheet editor, and I've learned how to use it. So I'm not going to spend this lecture showing you how to use a spreadsheet. All right, I think as a college student you should already know this. Learn how to use spreadsheets here. So I'm not going to endorse one YouTube channel or another. Never give anybody money. So when you are going through a tutorial, if any one of those folks try to ask you for your credit card or payment or anything, just say no. Just click away to another channel and start watching their tutorial. So you learn how to use a spreadsheet and track your food journal that way. All right, enough about this. If you are really, really interested in doing it this way, email me and I'll show you how I did it. We just don't have that kind of time for this lecture. Okay, grocery shopping. So have you heard about this strategy? I hear this all the time. Spend more time in the outer aisles of the grocery store, the supermarket, because that's where the the whole foods and the produce is. The middle of the supermarket is processed foods, packaged foods full of preservatives and carbs and sugars. So spend more time in the outer areas so you can get food raw and then cook it at home. And that's the whole point. Cook it at home. Try to go for whole grains. When you're buying meats, if you do buy meats, I buy meats. I never buy breaded or fried meats because they are loaded in carbs and sugar, and fried is loaded in fats, bad fats, trans fats, and preservatives, nitrates, sodiums. Simple beverages, so I buy coffees, teas. I'm all about the instant coffees. And before you say, ew, instant coffee, well, to be honest, I have a superpower. I don't really notice the difference between cheap and expensive food. But the plus side is I've saved so much money not buying expensive food. So instant coffee's good enough for me. One trick to instant coffee that I've learned is use less water. One of the problems of instant coffee is that it tastes so weak and diluted. That's because people use the normal amount of water that they would use for like a more expensive coffee. So what I do is I use half, and the flavor then becomes more concentrated, much more enjoyable. People would think, oh, I should eat salads. I should eat more salads in order to eat healthy. And of course you should. Salads, of course, great idea. But then watch out for the salad dressings, because many of the popular dressings are loaded in sugar, salt, and fat. Make your own. Make your own. And I make my own with extra virgin olive oil and apple cider vinegar. So let me repeat that. Extra virgin olive oil and apple cider vinegar. You know what? It's worth it. I'm going to your own dressing, extra virgin olive oil with apple cider vinegar. Works for me. You may have a little suspicion though, because like just 5 seconds ago I said I can't taste the difference between rich and expensive and cheap food. So you may be thinking, well, if Teacher Moon can't taste good food, then maybe this stuff tastes horrible. How about this? Give it a try. You must have olive oil somewhere in the house, and apple cider vinegar is available in tiny amounts. So it's a small risk. It's a small investment just to try it, and then put it on a salad one of these days and see how you like it. This is very healthy. Apple cider vinegar has been given lots of praise for its own health features. Extra virgin olive oil, great source of monounsaturated fat, the good fats. That said, search the internet for extra virgin olive oil controversy, and you will see lots and lots of articles about how many of the extra virgin olive oil sold in stores are fake. They're fake. They're not extra virgin, and sometimes they're not even olive oil. So education and research, very important when you are shopping for extra virgin olive oil. Frozen foods are a great way to store vegetables for a long time. The problem with buying raw vegetables is that if you don't use them like within a couple of days, they start to spoil fast, and then you have to throw the rest away, which is wasteful, and it takes they take up space in the grocery bag, and they can get kind of pricey. Sometimes you have to go out of your way to find fresh vegetables. So it's such a shame if you don't get to all of them in time and you end up throwing some of them away. So frozen is a great way, especially if you like living alone. Then, and some days you just don't feel like eating vegetables, but instead of letting it sit there in the refrigerator wasting away, you can put it in the freezer. Yes, you're allowed to freeze raw vegetables yourself, but buying frozen vegetables, very convenient. Canned foods are also a great way to get some of your healthy macronutrients cheaply. So the difference with canned foods is that you can read the nutrition label and know exactly what you're getting. If you get these foods in like the ready-made section, you have no idea how they cooked it, what went into it. Read it carefully, of course, because some of the canned foods are high in sugar, salts, and fats. Beware of tricks of the store to make you buy impulsively, but you know all of that, right? Okay. So read food labels. Well, what about the food labels? Well, first of all, ignore the front of the package. That's just advertising. They artfully and masterfully deflect your eyes from the unfortunate truths and try to focus you on the things that they want to brag about. But the things you need to know about this thing you're about to buy is the things that they're trying to hide. The nutrition label on the back are listed by law, so they're not allowed to hide stuff that you're trying to find out about. The numbers are not completely accurate, but they are mostly accurate. This example, a label saying, it has no trans fats. Okay, but what happens is if you eat 2 of these in one sitting, then you're effectively eating 0.98 grams or 1 gram of trans fat because you ate 2 of these. All the time thinking you ate 0 grams. See what's happening here? So that's one thing you should worry about, one thing you should keep an eye on. But other things like 20 grams of carbohydrates, if you're getting 19 grams or 25 grams, it's not that important, as long as you're not getting 100 grams of carbohydrates in one serving. That's what it's all about. The nutrition labels will allow you now to compare with competitors. So that's what I do sometimes at the grocery store. I'm thinking of buying between 2 competing brands of something, so I flip them around and I compare the 2 nutrition labels to see which one has the lesser carbs, salts, sugars, fats. The most important number in the nutrition label is servings per container, because that's what you have to multiply by to get the total of the others. Servings per container 2. So what you have to do is take all these numbers and multiply by 2 if you intend on eating the whole can. And seriously, who doesn't eat the entire contents of a can of soup when it's time to have soup? I don't know of anybody who eats only half the container of contents. Now, in response to consumer complaints about this little numbers trick, many packages will do this: give a per container list, which is nice. It helps me avoid the little math here, so that's good. Okay, for those of you who are serious about reading nutrition labels, the first number, so beginner level. For the beginner, you want to focus on the daily value percent. Let's have a look at this. Okay, 1 serving per container. That's good, right? At least they're being realistic. Nobody is going to eat a half a container of creamy meatball. Daily value percent. Total fat, 1/3, almost 1/3 of what you're allowed to eat for the day. Saturated fat, almost 2/3 of what you're allowed to eat for the day. So that's it. You're not allowed to have a second can of this. Sodium, 1/3 of your sodium intake for the day. So this is how you track, because it makes it easy, because it's recommended to be 100% for the day. The total daily intake of these nutrients should be around 100%. That said, at the beginner level, your mind is not ready. Your self-discipline is not ready. Instead, if you are finding that you're eating, say, after you add up all of the sodium you ate for the day from all sources, and you end up at like 300%, 3 times the recommended daily value of sodium for the day, first of all, don't panic. You are obviously, your body has obviously adjusted to that level. Tomorrow, do not cut your sodium intake by 2/3. What you will experience is food that tastes so horribly bland, worse than cardboard, and that quickly, if not immediately, quickly, you will give up this diet. You will give up your health journey. You will go back to the old you used to be. Instead, since if you find that you're taking in 300% of your sodium intake per day, then the next day, see if you can reduce it to 290%. By the end of the year, after 365 days, set a goal to drop it to only 200% of daily value. So your journey is that by the end of 12 months, you have reduced your sodium intake by 1/3. And then the following couple of years, you can finally reduce your sodium intake to the 100% it's supposed to be. So very slow tapering of your sodium, because what the sodium you're eating now is what your body is used to, what your taste buds are used to. If you try to change it too fast, too much too fast, the food will taste horrible and you will quit, you will give up. Instead, slowly change it little by little so that your taste buds don't notice or barely notice, and then it's sustainable. So what I mean is, from now, as a beginner, for now, just have less than you usually eat for now, and then work on that level as time goes by. All right, so for those of you who say, I'm not a beginner anymore, I'm an expert. What do you want me to do since I'm an expert? Oh, well, then look at the grams. Pay attention to the grams column, expert. If you think you know so much, start tracking your grams in your food journal. If you're on a budget, like me, what are you supposed to do? Actually, we're all in a budget now, right? Because of inflation. So there's a concept called food deserts. Not desserts with 2 S's. Not desserts with 2 S's. That's like a tasty little after. But the desert, which is like, desert full of sand, pyramids and sand. So that kind of desert. And it's a phrase for low-income areas where the only choices they have is junk food, fast food and junk food, and convenience stores. Why? Why would these be the only options in a low-income neighborhood? Because fresh fruits and vegetables are expensive to store and sell. The problem with fresh fruits and vegetables is they spoil pretty fast. So they put these food on the shelf, and then not everybody buys it. And then the remainder that starts to spoil, the store owner has to throw away, which means they have to take the cost of that unsold fruit and vegetables and average it into the ones that are sold, and that causes the whole thing to get a little more expensive. And at some point, with a low income neighborhood, it becomes so expensive that the citizens of that community can't afford it. The citizens of that community are especially vulnerable to advertisements They tend to be lower education level, so they have not taken classes on nutrition. They are stressed at work. They're holding down 2 full-time jobs, maybe 3 full-time jobs, and none of those pay very well. So they're spending almost their entire waking moment, their entire waking day, either at a job or commuting to a job. Because I remember being in that situation, and it took me 3 hours to commute one way to work, and then 3 hours to commute back because I had to transfer from bus to subway, then to another bus. So spent all my days, my entire waking existence, either working or commuting. So who has time to cook at home? Who has time to shop for fresh fruits and vegetables? So as a result, there isn't much financial incentive to keep a fresh fruits and vegetables grocery store in a low-income neighborhood. The only ones who can afford to set up shop there are fast food, junk food, convenience stores. And then what they do is they take junk food wrapped in plastic wrappers that can last forever, put it on a shelf, and then 10 years later somebody finally buys it and it tastes just as good as the day it was made. The customer is happy, the store owner is happy because he got paid. The only person who's not happy is the customer's doctor, because they start yelling at the customer, your cholesterol is too high, your blood pressure is too high, your diabetes is out of control. So these are food deserts. But this situation, all it really does, it makes it even more important to prepare food at home. So even though people in that situation have very little time to prepare food at home, they have to find a way to make it happen, because bringing food from home is cheaper. So just right there, that argument, I can't afford to buy fresh fruits and vegetables, I can't afford to bring food at home. You turn that argument around and say, you can't afford not to bring food from home. You cannot afford to buy your food from vending machines. You cannot afford to pay junk food, fast food restaurants to make the food for you. They are selling you the food. You're not only paying for the food they made, but also their workers, the electricity, the real estate of that fast food restaurant. You cannot afford to pay them. So instead, as much as you can, make food at home, bring it from home. Pasta and rice, if you have to, they are cheap carbs, cheap energy. But if you are in that stressful of a financial squeeze, then you got to do what you got to do to survive. Bring snacks from home so you don't use the vending machine. That's what I do. I buy cheese and crackers separately from the supermarket, and then I make my own snacks. I buy canned nuts when they are on sale, and then I dump all of these cheese, crackers, and canned nuts into a plastic bag, and I stick that in my backpack, and I munch on that all day instead of buying from the vending machine. Sometimes I'm so hungry that I finish up everything that I brought with me. Okay, then, and I'm still hungry. All right, well, I'm not hungry. I can't be. I just ate all that. But what I'm feeling is this intense craving. Finally, I give in to temptation. I have a failure of willpower, and I go get a vending machine food. But this way, I buy from the vending machine a lot less than I used to. I used to buy from the vending machine twice a day, at least. Now I buy from the vending machine maybe once a week. In all of my different jobs, I end up reaching for a vending machine only once a week. And that's because I was not able to plan ahead properly and bring enough food from home. Before you go to the grocery, try to eat a light snack, because you never want to go to a grocery store hungry, because then you will buy impulse. Use coupons and ads. to buy things on sale. Fruits and vegetables, load up when they're in season and then stick some in the freezer. That way they last a few extra months. Find inexpensive substitutes. Beans are a great way to substitute for protein. Tofu is a great substitute for animal protein too. Eggs, no matter what the price of eggs are, and they do go up and down like a roller coaster lately, they're still cheaper than the same amount of protein from beef. So it's okay. Generic is always better than name brand. The outer aisles I mentioned already, and learn to cook for yourself. If you must eat outside, save it for special occasions. Fancy restaurants, but also fast food, convenient food, that's still eating outside. Because everything is just getting more expensive, right? That way, not only do you save money by not paying somebody to cook for you, but also the tip. And I know the tip is what those servers are depending on to make a living, but the way the corporations are forcing us to pay tips even when we're not satisfied with our service, that's just unethical. It makes me feel manipulated. Bringing food from home is a great way for you to control portion sizes. Restaurants are really piling them on. Nowadays, portions are actually enough for 2 meals. So if you have to eat out because it's a special occasion, somebody's birthday, somebody's celebration, then ask for a container so you can carry half of it home and then make a second meal out of it. Look for restaurants that have healthy options. So if you have no choice, you have to eat somewhere, then because it's a special occasion, then at least you know that you have healthy options where you are going. Never buy soda from there, because that's how they pad the bill. That is one of the largest profit margins that a restaurant can get. It's the soda. So learn, not tomorrow, but maybe like by the end of next year, try to transition to just getting water. Also, sodas are high in sugar, right? So maybe transition to seltzer next year, and then just water the year after that. There's a often stated strategy of skipping your home meal before you go out because you will enjoy the food better. But the problem is that if you're in charge of the order, then you will, and if you show up at the restaurant that hungry, you will over order. You will order too much. So you're spending extra money when we're trying to save money. You're eating too much foods that are loaded in sugar, salt, and fat when you could be managing your hunger by eating healthier food early and then go to the restaurant at a appropriate time spent. If you are serious about your health journey, you want to stay away from buffets. Buffets are really meant for like special occasions, ultra special occasions, like something you do only once a year or twice a year. Try to have special occasions at home, like cook together, potluck dinners, etc. When you are out, avoid these terms from the menu because that means they are loaded in sugar, salt, and fat. Sauces and salad dressings in the restaurant are loaded in sugar, salt, and fat. I told you to watch out for them when you buy it in the grocery store. When you get extra virgin olive oil in a restaurant, that's it. You are probably not eating real extra virgin olive oil because the restaurant is incentivized to buy the cheapest they can find and still call it extra virgin olive oil, which means the chance that the bottle they bought from the supplier is not real or has been diluted is the cheapest possible version, which increases the risk that it's fake. If you order alcohol outside, then it's extra expensive. Plus, alcohol has calories too. right? So I know if it's time to party, then it's time to party. So if you don't drink alcohol, then and you lose social standing, and it hurts your social rank, etc. So you have to drink. I get it. But later, when you are back home and you are counting up all the nutrients, you need to include calories from alcohol. Try to resist the temptation of the breadbasket at the beginning. That's pure carbohydrates. If you must have dessert, like you're at the beginner level and you still have to have dessert, then you can do some substitutions like sugar-free yogurt instead of ice cream, a fruit instead of cakes. So something you can start transitioning to until finally, maybe in the far future, when it's time to order dessert, you can just say, no thanks. No thanks, I'm trying to watch my weight, or something like that. Never supersize. For every dollar you save supersizing, you're going to pay more for your medical bills because you supersized. So in the long run, you end up losing money. From the beginning, I said fat-free means loaded with carbs and sugar. So just because the menu item says fat-free doesn't mean it's healthy. Here's something. Asian food, like Chinese food, Japanese food, they used to have this reputation of being healthier than American food, but that was many decades ago. Although some old people may still think that way, and there may be this social meme that tries to say that. You know, a long time ago, Asian food became Americanized. Americanized Asian food has all the sugar, salt, and fat that American food does. So you're not really eating healthier here, especially not in Queens. Finally, start transitioning away from fried foods, especially if it's battered, has a carbohydrate batter like bread batter or something, and start transitioning, slowly over a few years into grilled food and broiled food. Your tastes need time to adjust. You can't do this right away. Don't try to change too much too fast. You will get frustrated. You will fail. Thank you for being my student. It was my pleasure to be your teacher, even at this asynchronous class. I hope you had as much fun taking this class as I did teaching it, and I hope that you take at least one or more of these thoughts with you beyond the end of this class to inspire your own health journey. Good luck on the final exam.